Oh, yeah.
This is the leadership development one, right? So we're gonna go for.
Yeah.
Geo text me.
Yeah, without opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not like me.
This is another opportunity. It's on the wrong camera. Blake,
Hey, buddy, what's up?
you getting on this call or what?
Yeah, of course.
All right, good stuff,
Yeah, of
man.
course.
What happened yesterday? I tried calling you after work just to see what was going on.
You tried calling me after work?
Yeah.
Let me see.
And I called you this morning too.
No, you did?
What happened yesterday?
Huh?
What happened with your sits?
You didn't call me.
Yeah.
I did not have a call from you yesterday.
Well.
But Elise did really, really well. Yeah, she's presenting from the intro to
Okay, good. Good. Well, get on that leadership call because we started the meeting, all right? I'll see you in a second. I'll talk to you after, all right? Bye. Where's the TV remote? Where's the TV remote? Let's see if we can maybe even just get everybody on TV here. This office group room.
What camera are you using?
4K all day.
Good things. Good things.
I guess I'll move down to this end of the table. So I guess I'll move down to this end of the table.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you, bro.
Down to the
It's a heavy inside right here.
It's like
down to the focus side.
That's big heavyweights.
that's right.
That's right.
I like that. I like this line.
But that side can beat this whole side. That side just fucking
Oh, we gotta send Haley a link for the letter.
What's our email? Send it to me.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that.
Text me your email. Send it with the quickness.
Maybe we will.
I bet your man John was quick. Surprised how quick I sent that email. I sent him the email before I like John. I did.
John.
It's gonna be fun. You need to teach us how to golf.
And he will teach us how to golf.
We got a guy bringing in that's got a PGA Tour card.
My boy.
No way.
Yeah.
That's raw. I'm excited. He's gonna be on our team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a personal baby. And he's pumped. Holy fuck. One of my guys pumped.
He's all come there for a couple weeks.
He's
whatever.
all fly there.
Yeah.
Like he's got it going on. This dude can help. This dude can help build our
He
fucking.
wants to help you there too.
Huh?
He wants to
Build
help
our
you.
empire.
That's it is too. I told Josh he's not allowed. Just kidding.
Oh, we got guests.
Here, bro.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Where's everyone else at?
I don't know if I should let them in yet then.
We'll see. I know one person is wrong.
Geo text me. He's gonna be running in hot. He said.
Okay.
And Brian Giddens?
Yeah.
Hey, what up, Nolan? How you, babe?
Okay. HMGERDES at Gmail.
HMGERDES@gmail.
Wonder if Tommy was gonna.
What's her name?
hop on with this guy.
Haley.
H-A-I-L-E-Y.
Haley.
Hey.
Hey.
That's Haley.
Hey, Lee.
Haley. Haley. Ken's not gonna be here. He was out till 3 o'clock in the morning serving ALP.
Just told him to get up. I'm texting me in. I'm sure.
Blake. Leadership development one.
Bubs. This is the same. I'm pretty sure.
Let's go.
Let's go know what the time is.
Kiss my guy.
I'm over here. When was that?
Why am I already said? Because I walk on water, bro.
I just went for was a Thursday. Click on the Google
I don't touch the ground while I'm walking. I'll float like this. Oh.
You got it? All right, I'm gonna show you as soon as you pop up.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy.
They stretched out a little bit. They did. Yeah. They usually have these dress shoes.
Tommy.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hey, he's in the room. Do you want me to let him in? I don't know if you can hear me or not. I wouldn't.
Hey, sorry, hold on one second.
Okay.
Yeah, you could let him in. I'm gonna go outside.
Baby. Animal.
Here we go. I can't see who's on the call. Do we have her on the call yet?
So yeah, we have Blake. Who else?
We missing anybody? How about Austin?
Tommy, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Looks like Gio, you're just calling her. Gio calling her.
Gio, you're muted as well, buddy.
That's all right. Well, we usually give it a minute or two for people to get on these things. So in the meantime, if we can't get Austin on, we'll just go ahead and get started, guys. So, as you know, on Wednesdays, we like to get together, do development. Last Wednesday, what did we do for development last Wednesday? We went golfing. So a little bit different today. Instead of golfing, we're actually going to get better in business a little bit more. So you guys probably get sick of hearing from me as well. I wanted to bring, someone that I respected in the business to talk to you guys today, and I don't want to expose us to just anybody. This is a friend of mine that just one of the best people that I know. Ryan, I don't know if your brother's going to be on as well. So, when you get these guys, you you know what you're going to get. You know, if you're going to get one, you're going to get the other, you're going to get both, you know. So, and I don't know if Steven's just going to pop in magically or what's going to happen today. So we'll leave the suspense be where it is. But you know, whenever I'm around these guys, I just get, you know, into a better mood, and they're always positive. And they've been able to, you know, guys, just to give you the history, okay, they've been able to, you know, work with Steve Greer when Steve Greer was the SGA in Texas, and he, you know, maybe Ryan could tell you a little bit more about the story, and he'll do a better job at me, but you know, I got to meet them when they came to Pittsburgh for the first time. I didn't really know Steve very well. Time to visit us, and we hit it off. And they were to make an impact on us. We were to make an impact on Steve Greer. Brought to us. I personally watched him during 6:30 in the morning club. He walks up to the guy. He goes, "Oh, you seem pretty personable. You seem like, you know, you like what you do here. You probably would be pretty good at what we do." And I'm watching this guy. He personally, the next day, the guy was in the group. That's what I saw during that. So there's definitely a lot that went on during that trip. And then, you know, then obviously they went back and they became the SGA of the year. Steve Greer went on to be the CEO of the company, and the rest is history. No, not really, because now Steven and Ryan, at all the people down there, they were the ones that you know, Steve Greer chose to promote to SGA and sort of pass on his legacy to. And they've been running Houston now, one of the biggest cities, craziest cities down there in our country, and doing phenomenal job with it. They're one of the top in their category, always leading their category. You'll see them everywhere in the spotlight all the time. And I just couldn't think of anybody better. I mean, this is one of the top SGAs in the company we have here, guys, speaking to us today. So we couldn't be more blessed to have you on the call, man, and appreciate your time this morning, no doubt about it. So, you know, without further ado, man, the stage is yours. And I left it open. You know, I gave them some ideas on where we're at a little bit as an agency, but also if we could leave it open, maybe 5 minutes at the end for questions if you guys have any. So we'll do that as well. So let's welcome Ryan Giddens onto the call this morning. Thank you, brother.
Awesome, Mr. Tommy Veen, my man. How's everybody doing today? If we've got a good, clear audio, if I could get a quick thumbs up just to make sure we got a good, clear audio. Good stuff, good stuff. So, you know, the first thing I'd like to do this morning is just introduce myself. My name is Ryan, and Tommy and I have developed a friendship over the last, I don't know, better part of a decade, maybe 6 or 7 years. And, you know, I knew a lot about Tommy before he knew anything about me, because I was that guy that every month I would pull out that Spotlight magazine and look at who was doing what. Does anybody else do that? Or is that not a thing anymore? Like every month I pull that Spotlight out and I look to see, you know, who's doing it big and who's doing it right. So, you know, this is a privilege for me. This is an honor for me. And I don't take this time for granted. And I'd like to spend a few minutes on several topics, and like Tommy said, maybe leave it open for some question and answer time after I go over a few things. But before we jump into that, I really quickly needed to explain what's going on with this haircut right here. This is what we're calling a Warhawk for the month of Rocktober. So we did an agency meeting vote, and 98 out of 101 people said that they felt like we would do better in Rocktober if for some reason I had this Warhawk haircut. So let's just go ahead, and this isn't a normal thing for me. I just wanted to let you know what's going on with that. But, you know, Tommy said something. I dig it that you guys have such a cool leader that like a leadership development session is let's go catch some time on the golf course. And that's such an honor and a privilege to be a part of a leader that wants to invest and develop and spend time with people. And I hope that you never lose sight of that or never take that for granted, because it is extremely rare, not just in business, but in life, to have a leader like Tommy, who truly cares about people and who truly cares about you. And he tells me about each and every single one of you and how excited he is for what you've already done and how much more excited he is for what you're going to do in the future. So I hope that you never, I hope that that never becomes numb to you. I hope it still excites you. He said, I know that sometimes you guys might get sick of hearing me. I'm going to challenge you to never let that happen. Never let your leader and the influence get numb to you. Never let that start to become something that's expected and not appreciated. So I just kind of wanted to start off our workshop with letting you know that there's a how to do the business and then a why to do the business. And I'm pretty sure that if we can figure out why to do the business, the how to sometimes takes care of itself, because you've probably heard before that if you have a big enough why to, the how to always seems to come together. Has anybody heard that before? Like if you start with the why, the how to will figure itself out. So another thing, guys, everything that I'm going to cover right now is just regurgitated leadership information. Like Tommy had mentioned, I was blessed to study under the leadership of Steve Greer, our current CEO, for half a decade. For about 5 years, he was my SGA. And so I got to learn from our CEO for 5 years. And I'm going to regurgitate a lot of stuff that he taught me, and hopefully it helps you. If you pick some things out of this that you like, use them. If you don't, just dismiss them. Apply what works for you and what makes sense to you. My intentions are to share things that I've experienced in life, things that I've gone through in both business and life, maybe to help make an impact with you. So I've got 2 quick stories, and then I'm going to get into the bulk of the leadership message. The first story, it starts a long time ago. It starts about 17 years ago, back in 2003. I was in high school and I was trying to graduate high school. And for some reason, I was one of those guys that like to party more than go to class. Do we have any of those people that just like to hang out and party and have fun more than go to class? I was that guy. And I had to take a summer class in high school in order to graduate. And at the time that was really embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you how later on in life that really worked in my advantage. But I had this English teacher, and she said that because I couldn't stay, in class and dedicated and committed, that I would never really achieve much in life and never really go anywhere in life. And her name was Miss Millspog. And you're going to need to remember that name, because we're going to come back and talk about Miss Millspog in just a little while. But I went through some rough stuff in life. Hopefully that we've got some people on the call that have experienced some adversity. I like to think that adversity introduces a person to themselves. We don't really know who we are in life until we've gone through some highs and lows. So that adversity really introduces us to who we really are. We find out who we are through adversity, not through times of smooth seas, as they say. So here's the sequence of events directly following the graduation of high school for me. 3 months after I graduated high school, my father, that was 42 at the time, had a brain aneurysm and passed away at 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve. So, I don't know if you've ever had a shock or a loss like that, but I was 19 years old and it was unexpected. Well, 3 months after that, if that weren't enough, my mother was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of cancer, and was basically diagnosed terminal. And then 6 months following up after that, my older sister, who's 2 years older than me, was diagnosed with a rare disease called microendocrine neoplasia. And I don't expect you to remember that or write that down or understand how that works. But in a long story made short, I went through some major adversity in about a year's worth of my life. In about 12 months, I lost my father. My mother had terminal cancer, and my sister got diagnosed with the life-threatening disease. I was married early on in life, and I was married in 4 years into my marriage that ended up in a divorce, and I got divorced. And within 1 month of going through that divorce, I was hired by American Income. So To tell you that I had a rough start to my adult life, I think would be a little bit of an understatement. You know, from the time I was 19 till I was 26, I went through some major life-changing events. And what I would tell you about that was when things happen, we can either look at that like things happen to us or things happen for us. And a lot of people say that the circumstances in my life are why I cannot ... versus because of these circumstances in my life is why I do ... You see, I've got this younger brother that Tommy was talking about. Some of you might actually know him. And whenever he was 13, I basically became his legal guardian, and I was still a kid myself. So some leadership started to take place early on in life. So that's kind of the first story that I wanted to give you a little bit of background about me, kind of like how my life started and how I got introduced into the company. The second story is way cooler and way less dramatic. I got hired by the company in August of 2011. And then for the next 3 years of my career was a major struggle in the business for me. I'm sure that none of you guys have had to go through any struggles in the business, but for me, there was some struggles that I had to make it through. And $2,000 of ALP for me was like a massive week. Like that was like a monster week. Now this was back in 2011 and 12, but if I wrote 2,000, I thought that I was like killing it, you know? So I was doing that for about 3 years. And this guy named Steve Greer said, hey, I want to take you up to Pittsburgh, Ohio to meet a couple of these guys, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to meet a couple of these guys. I think that they can show you a few things. And that's when I met Tommy. And I'll never forget the day that I met this guy. I was in the office in Wexford, Pennsylvania, for those of you that have ever been there. And it's me and Steve Greer, and in walks this guy that looks like he just walked off of a movie set, right? Like he's got like this super rad like jumpsuit on with some banging shades. And I'm like, my brother kind of elbows me and he goes, yo, that's Tommy Vina. And it was like seeing like a movie star. It was like, oh my God, like my hands started getting sweaty. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Tommy Vina. Because you've got to remember, for 3 years, I've been cracking open this spotlight. And this is like at the time a fictitious person in my mind. Like whenever I was seeing Tommy's production, I'm like, they're just making this stuff up. Like, how does he do this much? Like, this guy's doing $100,000 a week. Like, this is incredible. And so at the time, whenever I took that trip to Pittsburgh, I was a general agent, and I had me plus my brother and one struggling agent. Anybody ever been there before? It's like you with a person and a struggler. Like, that's a tough spot to be. And what Tommy said is, man, you guys seem like y'all can do this business at a high level. Let's spend a week together and see what's up. And what Tommy did for me is he showed me exactly how to treat people, how to put people first, how to work hard, how to have ethics and integrity. And then he did the most powerful thing for me, is he instilled belief in me that I could do that same thing too. So sometimes somebody's just got to believe in you. And the way that Tommy talks about his leadership team, he believes in every single one of you guys. And I hope that that never becomes numb to you. So I did what any good general agent would do, is I told my SGA, hey, I appreciate all the help and support. I'm packing my bags. I'm moving to Pittsburgh. I'm going to go work with Tommy. And he told me, why would you go all the way to Pittsburgh whenever you can do what Tommy taught you to do right here in Texas, in Houston? And the most incredible thing happened. Less than 4 months after I met Tommy and came back to Texas, we had our first $100,000 week. Now, at the time, our biggest week was 10,000 ALP gross, 8,000 net before I went to Pittsburgh. And in less than 4 months, 100,000 net, 120,000 gross. How does that happen? And it happens because of a system of belief. So I know that we've got some big thinkers on this call, but whatever you're thinking right now, it's not big enough. And I'm not saying that because you're not doing great things. And I'm not saying that because you don't think big. I'm saying that because 100,000 ALP in a week for me might as well have been 1,000,000 at the time. But when the belief change happened, everything else took off. So a good keynote for you is have a high level of belief. Expand your belief. They say that once the mind expands in belief, it never contracts back to where it was at. So I get off of this plane coming into Houston, and I told my RGA at the time, whose name is Michael Laramie. Some of you guys might know him. He's now the Vice President of Quality of Business at Home Office. I told Steve Greer. I told my brother. And I told an essay on my team, I've got great news for you guys. I made a decision, and y'all are all going to be on stage. We're putting all of you guys on stage. The mission of this team has one mission, and it's to put Steve Greer and Mike Laramie on stage at convention as the SGA of the year. Every action that took place throughout the entire year of 2015 centered around how do we put the people that are in leadership on stage. If you want to accomplish more in your career than you ever have before or you ever thought possible, start off by putting the people who lead you in a position to be recognized, and you'll be recognized for that. So what I would tell you is that year of 2015 ended really cool. Steve Greer was the SGA of the year that had over 120% growth after being an SGA for 11 years. Michael Laramie was a top RGA in the world. I think Tommy beat him out by a few dollars of ALP. It's hard to beat Tommy. I ended up walking across stage as a top MGA in the world. My brother Stephen was the #1 GA in the world. And that catapulted Steve Greer to be the president of the company and future CEO. That catapulted Stephen to be an SGA, myself to be an SGA. And 5 other SGAs were developed through one thought: put Steve Greer and Mike Laramie on stage. No, at no point in time was it ever, what can I do for me to benefit me? It was all about other people. And it was the first real time in my selfish life that I put others before myself. Leadership is selfless, not selfish. And I'm pretty sure that we're on a leadership call in here. And I got into leadership for selfish reasons because I thought I would make more money and get more free time if I had a leadership position. But then I realized through people like Tommy that leadership is all about serving others and being a selfless leader. So I challenge you to do a self-evaluation of where the motives are for you as a leader. Is it to get bigger bonuses, more recognition, free time, or is it to truly serve other people? Because when you begin with the right motives, a beautiful thing happens. God, the universe, whatever you call it, when you get a motive that's bigger than a selfish reason, it allows him to come in and work with you to elevate that goal. So that's a little bit about how I got to American Income. Now, I told you I would tell you about Miss Millspog, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the leadership stuff, and then we'll go with Q&A. But I had never made more than $35,000 in 1 year before I started working for American Income Life. And I was raised in the type of family that if it's like, hey, you want new school clothes for high school, then you need to get a summer job so that you can buy shoes and clothes. So I came up in a lower income, middle class, but lower income, great family, but we didn't have much money. We had plenty of love, but not plenty of money. And that English teacher, Miss Millspaw, told me that I would never accomplish anything. I would never amount to anything and I don't know if you guys went to a school like I did, but we still did this crazy thing where we voted for the least likely to succeed. I don't know if you guys did that at your high school. I'm kind of old school. Here in Texas, we do strange things like that. Like we vote for who's going to be least likely to succeed. We also vote for who's least likely to leave their hometown. I won both of those. Least likely to exceed, least likely to leave my hometown. And that teacher, Miss Millspaw, she said I would never amount to anything. And at the height of my MGA career, this isn't to brag or to boast. This is to help you understand where you're going. I was earning on a weekly basis her yearly salary. And it wasn't because I was driven towards that. I was driven to help other people succeed. So because the motives were selfless, I was able to accomplish those things. Does that make sense for you guys? Like, because the intentions were pure, I was able to accomplish those things through the help of a lot of other people. So 3 major takeaways from these 2 kind of crazy stories is the first takeaway is, number 1, character is built through challenges and adversity, not through easy situations and comfort. Character is built through challenges and adversity, not through easy situations and comfort. I know when I'm not on the right track, whenever I'm not going through challenges. If my life becomes too calm and too easy, I know there's no growth involved in that phase of my life, and I want to do something very quickly to create adversity and challenges in my life. By a quick show of hands, who exercises on this call? All right, my man Gio, I see him with a big flex right there. So here's the deal. Like, weight training is what builds our muscles. The way I look at this is like weight training is adversity to our muscles. Life situations are adversity to our mentality and our character. So if we're not being put through reps and we're not being exercised, we're not building strength in those areas. You might be like me. A few times in my life, I've been like, cool, I just need a breath right now, and I just need to breathe a little bit. I'll catch a few more reps. I just need some peace in my life. We don't grow in those times. The second takeaway is kind of what I said in the beginning. Things either happen to you or for you. You get a choice at how you look at it. Things either happen to you or for you. And you get to choose whether you go through things or grow through things. I know a lot of people that just go through things instead of choosing to grow through things. I recommend growing through things. The third takeaway is the challenges of today are building the strength that's required for tomorrow's battles. The challenges of today are building the strength for tomorrow's battles. Now, whenever I had just barely graduated high school and went through all that adversity, do you think that I thought that would end up helping me later on in life? Or do you think that I was just ticked off and pissed off that all these bad things were happening to me? There was a really smart guy. His name was Steve Jobs. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but if you've ever used an Apple product like an iPhone or a MacBook or something, he was kind of important behind that thing. And what he said was, we can never connect the dots looking forwards. We can only connect them when we look behind us. We can't connect the dots looking forwards. We can only connect them looking behind us. Now, I didn't know that it was going to take 10 years or a decade for that adversity that I had early on in life to turn into the strength that it took to win in business. But if I could go back and do it again, I don't know if I would change anything, because you guys have probably heard this saying before, but a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. We learn how to be a captain of a ship through rough waters, not in the harbor. So I wanted to go through those couple of things and invest the time in that, because I think a lot of people, if you're anything like me, I learn through stories, not through write this note and do this. Like, I learn through visualization and stories. And I hope that you're going through something right now that's a challenge to you, because if you're not, then it means that you're not in a growth area of life. So with that being said, I want to get into a little bit more of the leadership side of things, and then we'll wrap up with some Q&A. Are we cool with that? Good with that? All right, good stuff, good stuff. So the first point that I wanted to hit on whenever it comes to leadership is inward growth and personal growth. Inward growth must precede outward growth. Inward growth, personal growth, must precede outward growth. I would imagine that most people have a goal to be very financially well off. And I'll tell you something that I've learned about money, and it typically stays close to personal development and developed people. If you were to win the lottery, you better grow your development to where that money is, because if you don't, it won't be long before that money goes back to where your development is. So inward growth must precede outward growth. Do you have an exact game plan for intentional inward growth and personal growth? Everybody wants to talk about this thing called balance in life. Balance, balance, balance. I need balance in my life. Well, when I started working for this company, the only balance I wanted was my checking account balance to go up. I didn't care about the time it took. I was after the money. I cared about my checking account balance, not my life balance. Once we started to get there in the checking account and the savings account, I started looking for actual balance. You know where I found that balance? From 5:30 in the morning till 7:30 in the morning. That's where life's balance is at. While the rest of the world is asleep and quiet, you find your peace and your balance. What you do between, say, 5:30 and 7:30 in the morning makes all the difference in the world in your life. I haven't met really anyone that just loves getting up early. It's a major discipline. You know what the biggest discipline and sacrifice was me? Taking my butt home and going to bed on time so that I could get up in the morning when all my friends wanted to go out and have a drink. That was the biggest sacrifice. Once I could get my butt in bed, it was easy to get up in the morning. I was like, shit, I didn't go out last night so that I could get up this morning. So this is pretty simple. So that inward growth's got to precede outward growth. When it comes to leadership, leadership is an inside job. Leadership is an inside job. You guys remember that movie that came out years ago? It was like The Inside Man or something like that. You guys remember that movie? It's an old movie, but it's a good one. The Inside Man. Leadership is an inside job. The way it was taught to me is it's an inside job, and you've got to be a hitman in leadership. You got to be a hitman in leadership because it's an inside job. Hitman, HIT, stands for honesty, integrity, and trust. Honesty, integrity, and trust is the hitman job. It's an inside job. Think about it for a second. Have you ever wanted to follow somebody that didn't have honesty, integrity, and you couldn't trust them? Like, that's terrible, right? So let's keep in mind that leadership is really an inside job, and it's inside each one of us, and it's from being a hitman, from having honesty, integrity, and trust. So those couple of points are more like some personal stuff, not really AIL, ALP leadership in the business and growth. Last thing I'm going to touch on is some AIL related stuff, and then we'll go Q&A, and then we'll wrap up. There's an acronym, and it's RDL. RDL. And this is what our jobs are as leaders. And it's in this order. It's in order. RDL is R is for recruiting. D is for developing. And L is for leading. And they need to go in that order. We've got to recruit. Then what do we got to do? We got to develop that person that we recruited. And then we got to lead that person and deliver on the promises and commitments that we made to them when we recruited them. At AIL, good leaders create good agents. Great leaders create other leaders. Here in our business, good leaders create good agents. Great leaders create other leaders. I challenge you to humble yourself and gauge how well you're doing as a leader by how many times you've reproduced yourself as a leader. That's what this whole thing's all about. How many times have you duplicated yourself as a leader? Last couple of things here. Another acronym for you. I'm big on these little 3-letter acronyms because I think they're simple and easy to implement. LTD. This is a good old Steve Greer special, man. This one comes straight from the CEO right here, the LTD. Learnable, teachable, duplicatable. Everything you and I do has to be learnable, it has to be teachable, and it has to be duplicatable. There's many reasons why a lot of you are going to have an extreme amount of success and already have had a lot of success with the company. And there's also a reason, many reasons, that Tommy has had so much success in his career, aside from his talent, his personality, the charisma, what everyone calls that X factor that everybody likes to talk about all the time. There's something that Tommy has that supersedes that. And it's that he knows how to operate a business based on a system. And everything that he does is learnable, teachable, and duplicatable. Anybody ever noticed how sometimes it's hard for the top performers and producers to reduplicate themselves in leadership? A lot of times it's because what they're doing is not being learnable to others, teachable to others, and duplicatable to other people. So make sure that you're being LTD, learnable, teachable, duplicatable. So we got the RDL for recruit, develop, lead. Once you're on that system, make sure everything you're teaching is learnable, teachable, duplicatable. Very final thing, one of my favorite things. Quick show of hands. Has anybody ever read the book 360 Leader by John Maxwell? Anybody ever read that one before? The 360 Leader by John Maxwell? I think this can change the game for you. What it teaches people how to do is how to lead your downline, your sideline, and your upline. It's leading in a 360-degree area. I don't know if you guys know this or not, and I'm not even sure I should say anything because I didn't ask Tommy if it's okay. But did you guys know that y'all lead him? You think that because he's the SGA with his name on the door, that he's the leader. You guys lead him too. You know that, right? You influence him. You lead your upline. I think it's critical to learn how to lead your downline properly, your sideline, your peers properly, and your upline properly. John Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So if you influence people, you're a leader. And you can lead above you, you can lead below you, and you can lead beside you. I challenge you to pick that book up. It's a simple, easy read, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. So I hope that there was at least one or two things taken away from that. If not, hey, maybe a goofy, weird, entertaining story to start your morning off with. I don't know. I always want to help and make an impact. And hopefully, you know, when we do these types of things, I'm not looking to make an impact with everyone most of the time. Maybe one or two key leaders that resonates with, that'll take that and implement that and take their game and their team's game to the next level. Because that high tide raises all boats. So with that being said, hopefully it wasn't too deep for you guys or too over the top or whatever. I just grip it and rip it the way it is, man. Let's open it up for a little bit of Q&A. It's 9:42 right now. I got probably 10-15 minutes of Q&A. Give me what you got. Great leaders ask great questions.
Ryan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's Gio here. Hey, man.
What's up, stud?
Fire. took some great notes, and I think I can speak on behalf of everybody. We really appreciate you, man. Thank you. I wanted to ask, there's probably a million questions I have, but one in particular, it sounded like after you met with Tommy, you had a very pivotal point in your career where things just catapulted. I know you had mentioned a couple things, but what was something, or maybe a bunch of things that you directly implemented after talking to Tommy that you weren't, necessarily implementing in your current structure?
So the first one's personal recruiting. This business is built around personal recruiting. I think the catalyst that made it really go off, though, was training the recruits so well and so hard and investing and pouring so much in that we're releasing people saying, I'm not surprised if you gross $10,000 of business in personal production on your first week. I'm not surprised. We just spent 100 hours one-on-one locked up training. So the personal recruiting was huge, but the catalyst was a very intensive training going into that. That was from the business standpoint, Gio. That Y2 or that mentality, though, is Tommy taught me something that he's probably taught you guys. It's that Asian bamboo tree that's got to grow down first, right? Because when it shoots up, it needs that support system. So those 3 years leading into it that I was working my butt off and developing myself was the foundation that was needed so that when Tommy gave me the answers, I could implement them immediately and that blow up could happen. But more importantly, it could be sustained. It wasn't one of those blow ups and then come back down. It was blow up and keep going. Great question though, Gio. That's a great question. What else you got, my man?
Thank
How long would you have a trainee under you before you release them?
In field training, you're saying? Okay. So your agency, depending on how y'all are doing virtual versus in-home, all that stuff may be different. But from the point of hire, we would spend 2 weeks at 40 to 50 hours per week workshopping. Workshop. I'm talking 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And then what we do, Gio, is we take these developed trainees to the field, and the field is just to prove that what we just did for 100 hours really works. We don't train in the field. Could you guys imagine, like, if we went into the Army and they're like, all right, guys, we're going to go to battle. We'll show you where the safety's at on your gun when we get there, right? We'll show you how to put bullets in there. Like, that's how casualties happen. So we train for 40 to 50 hours a week for 2 weeks in the office, intensive training, then just took people out to the field. You go out there and bust it in the field and write $8,000 or $10,000 in production. How can a trainee not think? I mean, they're thinking, sorry that I only write 4,500 last week. I'm going to pick my production up. I know that's unacceptable. The expectation is the key. That's the critical piece that a lot of people miss. And I think they miss it because they truly inside know they didn't put in the time and work with the trainee to expect that type of activity in production. When you train for 100 hours before you ever step into the field, and then you show big production on a system in the field, 5,000, I'm sorry for that terrible week. I know you trained me better than this. I'm going to make it up to you next week. I'm dropping 10,000 next week. Great question, Blake. That's a good question. What else we got?
All right, another question here, brother. Culture. I know your guys' culture is fire. You know, you guys are always amped up, fired up, and I know everything rises and falls on leadership. So I know you probably have some great insight on that. What are just some tips on, or maybe some ideas to create an even better culture, a disciplined culture, and also just a fun culture as well?
Okay. So a culture that's fun, I think, is critical. And I think that making money's fun. So we like to blend those two together, right? The founder of our company, Bernard Rappaport, made a statement and he said, in order for you to give light to others, you must first set yourself on fire. You know how energy is infectious? You can get around a group of positive people, and if you're having a somewhat average day, you'll just get fired up with them. And at the same time, if you get around negative people, you'll kind of get negative with them. We're either always lifting people or leaning on people. We're either lifters or leaners. The people on this call are truly the gatekeepers to the culture of this agency. It's what you guys permit is what you promote. This can't be a job of one person. This isn't any individual's one person's job. This isn't Tommy's job. This is the leadership team's job. And I'll tell you the secret to building the culture to win. If the meeting's at 9 a.m., you're there at 8:15 prepared. If the call night's over at 8:45, 9 p.m., you spend an extra 45 minutes in the office. I made a career by having my vehicle the first vehicle in and the last vehicle out. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because when you know that you're putting in the work that other people aren't, inside you, you become expecting of success on a whole nother level. It's almost like a subconscious thing. When you know you're showing up early and leaving late and putting in the extra work, surprising the people around you with your work ethic, you become deserving, self-worth deserving of massive success. So that culture that all great teams have, that great culture, is controlled by you guys. And you've probably heard that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. That's what it is. It's consistently doing more. I talked to Steve Greer 2 years ago. I was going through some stuff in life and in business. And he said, you know, Ryan, I don't have all the right answers for you, but I know what I know what an answer, like, it's never the right answer to do less. Doing less never gets me more of what I want. Culture critical. I can tell you guys have a great culture because I'm looking at the screen. Everybody's taking notes. Note takers are money makers. The challenge is, how do you implement what's on that paper? My top guys, they implement at the speed of instruction. That's the top 10%. The bottom 90%, it might take them a week or two. Your ability to implement at the speed of instruction determines how quickly you go. Be an implementer at the speed of instruction. I know you guys are on the right track because the questions you guys are answering are the questions that's going to take this agency to $5 million in ALP next year, for sure. No doubt about it. You guys are doing 5 million next year. Y'all are going to finish out this month with 200,000. For the month of October, y'all are doing 5 million next year. Me and Tommy were talking a little bit about it last night. You know, I met Josh. Where's Josh at? Give me a thumbs up, Josh. Where you at, Josh? There he is. What's up, stud? How you doing, brother? In my opinion, if we're an MGA, anything less than $1 million to $1.5 million a year in production, $1 million's like the get your foot in the door policy, right? That's where things start, is $1 million a year, 20,000 net a week. On a bad week, you want to really do some big stuff, $2 million a year, you're going to start kicking some butt as an MGA. But I know you guys are going to do $5 million in 2021. Tommy's already got it all planned out. He already knows the quarters, how they work, where y'all are going to start, where y'all are going to be in the middle, where y'all are going to finish up at, who he's got his eyes on to develop to the next MGA and RGA positions, who he's got concerns about and why. And they come from the heart because he cares. Let me tell you something. If a guy like Tommy Veen is on your ass about something, it's because he cares. If he didn't care, he wouldn't even mention it. You guys are going to do 5 million. This is a great spectator sport. I can't wait to see it and watch it. All right, we got time for one more question. Who's got the last question? Bring some fire for the question.
You guys don't have one? All right. This might bring up some arguing. I'm kidding. No, but you know, obviously, we made that big transition to virtual, right? I want to hear your opinion, if that's okay, of, you know, what you honestly think is better, virtual or in person, and you know, kind of what you guys are doing right now to help what you think is better.
I was afraid that would come up, Gio. Listen, man, I'll tell you the honest, I'm a knees under kitchen tables kind of guy. Okay. I want to be able to shake hands, look somebody in the eye. I like the in-home sales. Okay. I've sold on virtual. It's powerful. You know, you can cover your state with the click of a button. There's some power behind that. I think for duplication reasons, virtual is incredible. I think for production, in-home sales is equally as good as virtual. I'm a little biased. I like the knees under kitchen tables. And what our team is doing is a little bit of a mixture. We're doing like a 75-25, 75% Zoom, 25% in the field. So let's say we're getting towards the end of the month. You've got those leads that you want to see, but they don't ever answer the phone, maybe a bad phone number, whatever. I'm going to keep a list, a running list of those leads, and I'm going to have a blowout week and go on a door knock rampage for a day and a half and set up 35, 40 appointments and then go write $15,000, $20,000 in production off those door knock appointments. I couldn't hear you, Gio. What was that? Good. All right, guys, I think we had about an hour set up for this. It's 9:55. What you got, bud?
I said, no, that was fire. That's good, man. I'm surprised you guys are 75-25. I was expecting the opposite.
What are you guys doing right now?
We're honestly about 50-50. About 50-50, I'd say. Yeah.
I like that. I want to transition into 50-50. I don't know, you know, Florida and Texas were kind of two of them problem states because we don't like to listen to rules, so we don't wear the masks very much and all that stuff. So we kind of kept the stuff going around a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get to 50-50. I think you guys got the winning recipe. I looked at y'all's production last week. Y'all had a great week last week. Y'all had a great week the week before. This is what we need, guys. Listen, I don't make a dime off of y'all's business, right? But one day, one of you guys are going to speak to some of my agency. Guarantee it. So if I can impact and influence you, maybe one day you can impact and influence others. That's what leadership is, right? We got to close this month out. We got to close it out. We need like $120,000 in net production between now and the end of the month minimum. We got to go back-to-back 60s minimum. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for the team. Do it for the culture of the agency. When you find motivation that's bigger than just you or me or ourselves, that's whenever excellence happens. When it's selfish, the biggest results don't come. We got to have 120 over the next 2 weeks. I know the leaders that are probably going to pull the majority of that. But that's also a time for the other leaders to step up and say, hey, I bet my name wasn't on your little list that you wrote down is bringing a lot of that production. Tommy's going to send me the production report. And I want to be surprised and shocked. I wouldn't be surprised that y'all already did 100,000 in a week. Y'all already did it. You guys go do 200,000 in the last 2 weeks. You can do it. You already did it. You guys are incredible. That y'all are like the fastest people in company history to go to 100K in a week. You guys know that, right? Like I'm on the call right now with nothing but thoroughbred champions. Be proud of yourselves. But we ain't living in yesterday's success. We're putting up 120,000 net or more because we're breaking 200K in October. Good stuff.
Love it.
All right. Hopefully you guys got some from that. I'm going to kick it back over to Mr. Vina if he's still on to sign us off. Mr. Vina, you still on the call, big boss?
Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, great job, man. We really appreciate that, guys. Give it up one more time for Ryan. Hey, he said it. We got this 120. Let's go get it, boys.
Big
Come on.
time. All right. We'll see. I'm going to watch some production reports. We'll see y'all soon, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
too,
you, brother.
man.